Welcome back, everyone. It's great to see you. We are now in session 3. I hope you had a good brain break or break. If you went, we know that everybody is working hard to be here. We know that some of you scholars are having tech issues, Wi-Fi issues. You're having to travel across town in cars. We appreciate the effort, and I think you're going to really enjoy this next session, which is going to talk about the wonderful connection and partnership with GE, who, as we mentioned, was the partner in the founding of this program. So we're very excited to fill you in a little bit more on that. So scholars, just a reminder, you're going to be off camera for this session. At the end, if you have a question, we can pull you up on screen then, but I think you're really going to enjoy this next session. So I'm going to introduce our panelists, and then I'm going to step off screen for the next half hour. But we're exciting, hosting and moderating. We have Tony Denhart, who is our university relations leader from General Electric, and Cheryl Chen, a 2017 scholar just graduated from the Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania. And then on the panel, we have Alex Dmitriev, Senior Vice President and General Counsel to the President and CEO of Global Growth Organization. Sorry, there's a lot of words in there, but retired and one of the founding kind of visionaries of this program with GE. And then also Gary Sheffer, who's been around since the very beginning of this program, former Vice President of Communications for GE, now college professor. And so welcome to all of you. I am now going to turn it over to Tony.
Hey, Tony, thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. First off, before I get kicked off here, I just want to congratulate all of you. And I am so excited to meet you, hopefully sooner than later. If you're ever in Central Indiana, let me know and I'll take you out for lunch or dinner. With that, before we jump into this, Cheryl, can you fill us in a little bit on what you've been up to since you were awarded the GE-Reagan Foundation Scholarship?
Yeah, sure thing, Tony. It's crazy how recent my 2017 scholarship retreat took place, but yeah, also being so long ago, definitely miss it. So yeah, 1 month ago, I recently graduated from UPenn, Wharton School. I studied economics with concentrations in management and operations, as well as minored in Russian. So throughout my time at Penn, I've definitely tried taking advantage of all of its resources beyond, just the confines of the classroom. So whether it be, leading a backpacking trip in Utah, taking diverse classes from, Russian to Arabic drumming, studying abroad in London before the pandemic hit, of course, also interning in different cities like San Francisco and LA. So I think without the help and support of the GE-Reagan Scholarship, would not have been able to take advantage of all of those. And in September, I'll be starting my full-time role as a strategy analyst at Insight Partners, which is a leading venture capital firm here in New York City, where I currently am. So hopefully today, I, along with the 2021 scholars, can gain even more wisdom from our panelists to determine the kind of leader, friend, and person I continue to strive to be. And congrats, everyone else. Congrats to the 2021 scholars. Great. So why don't we jump in? So my first question is to Gary. So for their homework, the scholars watched the video Rendezvous with Destiny. In your words, why was President Reagan's time at General Electric so formative to his future political career?
Hi, and congratulations, Cheryl, by the way, on your graduation and upcoming role. That sounds really exciting. So the President Reagan, from 1954 to 1962, was a spokesman. And in some ways, what I did for the company, I worked in communications at GE for many years. But Reagan, of course, hosted a television program called General Electric Theater. And that was a Sunday night sort of anthology program in which they dramatized novels, short stories, plays. And some of the biggest stars of the time were part of those productions. And the show was very popular. It was, top 5 over the years. And Reagan was the host. So he would introduce it. Sometimes he would act as a secondary character, and he would star in ads for General Electric. But at the same time, the most important thing to answer your question, Cheryl, is he also traveled around the country, around the U.S., for GE. He visited every research and manufacturing facility, about 140, I think, talked to 250,000 people. He gave speeches at Rotary clubs and Moose clubs and other organizations. and really during this time, was a voracious reader about political, economic, social issues, and came to, in that time, through that experience of reading, talking to people on the front line, manufacturing workers, and then giving these remarks, came to some of the positions that would lead him to the governor's mansion in California and later the presidency. So this is a period in Reagan's life which hadn't been examined much until a few years ago. A guy named Tom Evans wrote a book about the education of Ronald Reagan, and it was about that time, those 8 years in which he was employed by General Electric to talk on some of these issues. So really a formative, essential part of the philosophy that carried through his public service.
Great. Thank you for that thorough answer. My next question is to Alex. So building off that question, President Reagan held a number of jobs before he even entered politics. Some examples include lifeguard, radio announcer, actor, union leader, and of course, GE spokesman. So these aren't necessarily the typical path to holding the highest office in the land. I guess with this in mind, as well as your own tremendous career, what encouragement do you have for our scholars who are about to put themselves on a path to a career? And I'm also very interested to hear this.
Yeah, sure. First of all, let me congratulate you and congratulate all the 2021 scholars on achieving great milestones this year. It's been a real thrill to watch you and your classmates live up to all the promise that you demonstrated during the application process. And we start this virtuous cycle all anew this year in 2021. So this is just something that we're all incredibly proud of at GE, and just watching this program come to life before our eyes has been a tremendous privilege for Gary and Tony and me and everyone else at GE who's been involved in the program. I always took heart in the fact that President Reagan was a lifeguard, because I was a lifeguard, and that was one of the best jobs that I ever had when I was in high school. And I really think that the common theme when you look back at President Reagan's career is that he loved interacting with people, and he was insatiably curious about what made people tick, why they did what they did, what made people successful, what made people role models, what was it about them, their basic decency, their intellectual curiosity that made them worth listening to, that made them worth soliciting ideas from, that made them worth being partners in processes that he then followed on to participate on throughout his career. And so people used to belittle President Reagan's career in show business, for example. And yet anyone who's been a successful actor or actress knows the discipline that's involved, how you have to work with different people, how you have to know when to speak up to defend yourself, defend others, how you end up interacting with people to produce the best product. And most importantly, here's one of the themes you always heard from President Reagan, how teams working together can get things done as long as there isn't anyone who's worried about getting all the credit that the team has accomplished. And so I look back on all these things that President Reagan did, and I think it's hard to isolate a single one to say that's what made him great, that's what made him fantastic. I think it's a mosaic of his entire career and the different people that he was exposed to, but most importantly, the enthusiasm that he showed. And I'll just tell a personal story along those lines. On my last day, when I was a White House fellow, I had the privilege of working for President Reagan in 1985 and 1986. And on my last day, my dad was making a trip to pick me up and drive me home to Illinois when I was done. And my boss heard that my dad was there. And so he said, do you want your dad to meet President Reagan? And I'm like, who wouldn't, right? And so then, in one of the greatest things ever, my dad goes in and my dad gets his picture taken with President Reagan, one of my most cherished possessions that I have. But honestly, I couldn't tell you, looking on at that scene, whether my dad was more excited to meet President Reagan or whether President Reagan was more excited to meet my dad. And the thing that everyone would tell you about President Reagan was that was 100% genuine. He really loved meeting people, and he really respected people's differences and the things they brought. And for him, my dad, having come to the United States and raised me as a first-generation American to work for the President of the United States when I was 27, was what made President Reagan think America was a great country, because there weren't many places in the world where people could do what my dad did. So I was proud of my dad, but believe it or not, President Reagan was incredibly proud of me. And that, to me, is what really made him great. And so, sorry to keep going on because you've hit a topic that I'm very passionate about. I think my advice in terms of careers and things you're going to do next and what you want to do is don't do what you think people expect you to do. Don't go work for Goldman Sachs because you think that's what talented people do. Go work for Goldman Sachs because you want to be with incredible, brilliant people who do corporate finance. Go work at a library if that's what you want to do. Go work, in whatever field is your passion, because that passion is what makes you grow as a person. And just, take advantage of everyone you meet and learn from them, listen to them, be curious, but follow your passion. Don't take the route that people expect you to do. Every single one of you has an incredible record. Every single one of you can probably go in any different path you want to do. Take the path that you're passionate about, and they'll make you interested in pursuing that graduate degree, pursuing that job. Don't do what people expect you to do. There's a big difference. And if you ever need me to help articulate the difference, I'd be happy to jump on the phone with you.
Alex, thank you so much. And you would expect nothing less from me maybe to add a word or two to that. Two things, scholars. Relationships matter. I'm going to expand on that a little bit. And be a continuous learner. I look at President Reagan, and when he was our spokesman, he traveled around the world, or I won't say around the world, around the U.S., as Alex said, as our spokesman. And the video, as we watched it, discovering America one factory town at a time. And that still sinks into me to this day. What I've also read, I wish I could have been one of those GE employees at one of the factories to hear President Reagan. But he, our people said they could really relate with him, that he built those relationships, that he instilled trust. And I think that's a big piece of what's going to help you be successful. So just totally amazing. Every time I either read something, watch something, or visit the library, I learned something new about President Reagan. And Cheryl, I said it.
Yeah, but think about it, though. So President Reagan learned something new every single time he visited a plant, every single time he visited an office facility, and he really listened. And he walked away from GE with 3 abiding convictions, right? One was in the power of technology, of science. He saw amazing things that the women and men in GE were doing. And so he had this optimism that investing in the future was worthwhile. Second, he believed in the decency of people. He saw women and men around the world who worked for GE who were incredibly kind, gracious, caring people. And so he walked away believing in the best of people, and that never, ever disappointed him. And the third was he believed that good companies do good things and don't wait for government to tell them what to do when progress is necessary. He foresaw things like the eco-imagination of GE, where GE was already investing in environmentally friendly technologies long before this term of ESG became fashionable. So again, I reiterate what I said before, which is meet people, but listen to them. And President Reagan was an incredible listener, and he never got enough credit for that.
Great ads, Gary, great ads. Cheryl, just a quick shout out again. Congratulations on what you've earned. We're looking forward to where you go from here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Alex, back to you. On a personal note, I know, because you've told me many, many times, that you have a deep affinity for President Reagan. Can you share with our scholars why you are committed to honoring his legacy?
I honestly think, Tony, that we're at a critical crossroads in our history. I think that the last 4, 8, 10 years, take your pick, have shown how a country is not served well when people cannot engage, when they cannot exchange ideas, when they cannot rely on the power of persuasion, but instead measure persuasiveness by the volume with which somebody yells on cable TV. And so I'm committed to the values of President Reagan because he represented a better time in the nation's history. It doesn't matter whether you're a conservative, Republican, or liberal Democrat. I think everybody from across the political spectrum will look back to 1980 through 1988 when President Reagan was still in office as a time when people still debated, when people could still talk, when members of the United States Senate would be friends off of the Senate floor and respect each other's ideas. And that was all a tone at the top from President Reagan, who had very strong views, no mistake about it. And he felt very passionately about what he believed in, but he would also listen. He would listen to Tip O'Neill, who was then the very liberal Speaker of the House. He would listen to the Democrats in the Senate, and he considered them to be friends. And there's a notion of respect. There's a notion of commitment to the power of persuasion and ideas that, to me, we need to go back to. It represents the better part of ourselves. It represents the better part of the American body politic. It's really missing right now, and it's missing badly. And we need more people like President Reagan, which is why we wanted to start this scholarship program to promote opportunities for people that we believe shared his passion for integrity and reasoned debate.
Super. Thanks, Alex. And Gary, on a similar note, do you have a memory of President Reagan that is very meaningful to you? And if you do, I know you do, can you share it?
Yeah, sure. And so my brother, Ken, who's about a year older than me, went to the same college, little small college, upstate New York called Siena. Drove to Washington after he graduated, got hired as a driver on the Reagan campaign, and long story short, got hired on the National Security Council staff, working as an aide to the National Security Advisor. And during that time, in that first term of office, Ken, my mom went down to visit Ken in Washington and brought her into the White House briefing room, where you see presidents and press secretaries brief the press on new issues, policies, etc. Ken took a picture of my mother, who was about 5'0" at the podium, and got it developed, put it in an envelope, sent it to the Oval Office in the hope, the long shot hope, that the president would sign this photo for our mother. And Ken didn't have any expectation that it would come back anytime soon, if at all. And lo and behold, 2 days later, manila envelope came back to Ken's desk, and it said, my mother's name was Rachel. Rachel, you would make a fine stand-in, signed President Reagan. And I have to say, my mother wasn't political, but I think beyond some of the personal things that she had gotten in her life, wedding rings and that kind of thing, this was her favorite possession until the day that she died. So just as Alex was talking about, that ability to connect with people, actually caring about someone like my brother, who was a staffer on the National Security Council staff, it really showed why Reagan made a connection on an individual basis, but also more broadly. And so in our family, President Reagan holds a special place in our heart whenever we think about my mom.
Great. Thank you, Gary, and as well as Alex, for sharing those very personal stories that I think really personify Reagan even more. And I think our last question, again directed towards Gary, is why do you think it's so important for GE to invest so heavily in our scholars?
Well, I have to say, first off, I have to tell you, the day that I talk to scholars or finalists in the scholars program, when I read your background and then I get to interview some of you via Zoom or whatever platform, is actually one of the best days of the year. I enjoy it so much, reading your stories and talking to you personally. And I've been doing this since the start of the program. So I would just want to say thank you. It's a great day for me, and getting to know all of you over the years has been, and your predecessors, has been just so much fun for me. You know, Alex described why we wanted to do this program and President Reagan's background with us at GE. But I'll say one thing about the guy who funded this program, was my boss and Alex's boss. Jeff Immelt was the CEO of GE when we started the Scholars Program, and he wanted to do something special. You know, GE is known for its leadership development and has been for many years. And, you know, President Reagan, whatever you think of the politics, as Alex said, was a respected leader. And Jeff Immelt, as the leader of the biggest conglomerate, you know, multinational in the world at the time, always talked about, even before we started this program, President Reagan and what an optimist he was. And he would also add the words tough-minded optimist. In other words, you believed in people, you believed in progress and that things would get better through technology, through connections, but you also had some things that you believed in, right? That were your guideposts in your life and in your policy, in your administration. Integrity, a belief in treating people with respect and empathy, I think are something that Jeff and President Reagan shared, and a belief, as Alex said, that if we work together, we can do great things. And so that's why we started this scholarship program with the folks at the Reagan Foundation, who, by the way, I just want to say to everyone associated with this program who's scholars, these are some first-class people, and they run a terrific program, and you're going to have lots of connections with them over the next 4 years at least, and we hope much longer. But we knew we had a great partner in the Reagan Foundation, that they would run this program well, and they'd find terrific people like you. So it's a long answer to the question on why we did this, Cheryl, but it was because, like Reagan, we believed in the future and this sort of sense of tough-minded optimism.
Excellent. Well, I'm gonna come back up on screen now, because we'd love to get our scholars a chance to pop in and ask any questions they might have of our panelists. And thanks for the kind words, Gary, and all the insights from everybody. I know, just having been on the foundation side of this partnership since the very inception, that working with everybody who's been part of this, from GE, Gary, Alex, Tony, it's just been really remarkable. The support, the fact that you're still engaged. You've retired from GE, but you still come back to help support this program is just a true testament to the quality of folks that have been behind this program.
It keeps us all young, Tony.
Yeah. All right. So for our scholars, if you have any questions, feel free to hop on. Oh, looks like we have a question from Isaac. I'm going to bring him up here.
Hey, Mr. Denhart, good to see you again.
Hey, great seeing you. Congrats.
Thank you. So you guys talked about Ronald Reagan being a great people person and stuff, and so like I just wanted to ask, you hear it's who you know, not what you know, and applying that to your life, do you feel like that's been a key aspect in your careers and your life?
I mean, look, first of all, Isaac, congratulations. Who I know has been a determining factor for my career, but not because they have certain connections, not because, I knew the right people. It's that I was lucky enough to engage and interact with people who always taught me things. I always said that, to me, I could measure the value and the decency of any of my senior colleagues at GE by how well they treated their administrative assistants and how well they treated, the people who took care of our building. And so for me, it's really being able to interact with people, learn from everybody you meet, and take those lessons with you in life. So yeah, the people that I interacted with and I met have had an enormous influence on me in ways that they don't know and in ways that they don't even appreciate. And to be honest with you, I was just telling somebody right now that there were 2 or 3 people who I met at early stages of my career that I wish I could reach out to right now and say thank you to, just for the lessons that they gave me, the time they spent with me, the compassion they had for me. So yeah, the people who you interact with in the future are going to be a huge determiner in what kind of career you have and what kind of person you're going to become. And all I'd say is make sure you make enough time for them to really, really genuinely listen to them and learn from them.
Yeah, Isaac, I would just add really quickly, I can think back over my career And there are 3 or 4 people that really, really made a difference, right? And so I'm a college professor these days, Isaac, and I spend a lot of time talking to students about building these kinds of meaningful relationships. And you will be surprised. I would say to the scholars, do not be shy to reach out to people who you admire, who you've encountered in your studies or in your internships, on how many people are willing to give you their time to help you learn and get better and build your network. So I think a lot of students sometimes are a little shy about that, and I would say don't be.
But Cheryl's a great example of it today, right? I mean, Cheryl doesn't have to be here. Cheryl just graduated from college, and she doesn't have to be doing this. But Cheryl's here because she wants to be. And I would say that it's another great thing, because one of our hopes for this program, and we didn't really know whether it was going to happen, one of our hopes was we were going to create a new community of aspiring leaders in this country who shared a common sense of decency and values and commitment to each other and intellectual curiosity. And that's become true beyond our wildest dreams. You know, just we can't wait till all of you can get out to the Reagan Library in Simi Valley, and we can celebrate your scholarships appropriately. But the sessions that we've had at GE, when GE will be reopened, the online platforms, the things that the Reagan Foundation has done to promote interaction among the scholars, that's success beyond our wildest dreams. And so among the people that I hope you will continue to reach out to are people like Cheryl, who are 4, 5 years ahead of you, your classmates, and the people who are going to follow you as GE scholars. I mean, that would be success beyond our wildest imagination.
Great point, Alex. Yes.
Hey, I just want to add one thing out, Isaac. I was talking to one of our interns this morning, and we encourage our interns to reach out to employees just to get to know them. I mean, be strategic, right? Because relationships do matter. And I asked her, why did you pick GE? And she said, well, I saw this LinkedIn article, and she's studying, business and computer science. And there was this GE healthcare article on what we're doing in AI or artificial intelligence. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. And she was able to expand upon that when she was interviewing with us. And then what I did is I encouraged her to reach out to, there's probably a couple names in that article. Reach out to those folks, talk to them about it, just to make sure that, this is your space, but to find out more about that technology. And the one thing she said is that, a lot of people have told me to reach out to people. And she thought initially it was just smoke and mirrors, just, us saying that. But she said, every person I've reached out to responded, has taken the time to talk to me. That goes back to, what Alex said, and that's treating everyone fairly and equally. So, getting to know people, relationships matter. Just those conversations you have with them or that you don't have with them will tell you a lot about that person and potentially about the company.
Excellent. Well, thank you. That's a great question, Isaac.
All right, thanks.
So we have enough time for maybe one more question. If another one of our scholars has a question. Oh, it looks like Brett popped up. I'm going to bring Brett up on screen. And Isaac, if you want, you can just click on leave. It won't kick you out of the thing. It'll just take you off screen. So.
Hello, Mr. Vinhart. It's good to see you again. So my name is Brett Phelps, and I'm really interested in telling the stories of others. And so what advice would you give to someone who's interested in telling the stories of companies and organizations like GE and the Ronald Reagan Foundation and other people who have a positive impact on the world?
Well, since Brett, I sort of did that for a living. So as the head of communication, still do, and I teach it at Boston University. Here's what I would say. It's, look, a lot of people try to tell stories today from a distance, and being a good journalist or being a good communicator is about deeply understanding people. And so you just got to get out in the community, and whatever stories you want to tell are inside the company, and get to know the people. And I would also say that I'm a big believer in liberal arts, the humanities, Brett. And so, there's wisdom in Shakespeare. There's wisdom in other great books. Be a voracious reader, not just about history or the technical areas that you're studying, but read fiction and read the great storytellers. Steinbeck. Go through it and every day be as informed as you can about what's going on in the world. That will make you a great storyteller. I guarantee it.
And Brett, be honest, be balanced, be credible, stick to the facts. I marvel at sometimes when I watch a story on, I'm just going to pick two networks, MSNBC and Fox News about the same topic. It's like they're talking about completely different things, and that can't be right. That can't be the way that things go on. So when I was a lawyer and I was practicing, I was a trial lawyer, my objective in each trial was to make deposits in the credibility bank every time I could. And every time a judge asked a question, I always made a point of being accurate, being credible, telling things even when they hurt my case, because I wanted to tell the truth. And my objective was by the end of the trial, when the judge needed to know what person they could ask in the courtroom to get the truth about something, that he would call on me. And I think that is a great goal for anybody. Always be the source of truth in the room. Always be the person in the room that everyone knows they can count on for a honest, credible, objective articulation of whatever the subject matter is that you're working on. The truth is always your friend. And I think if all of us can get back to that more, people aren't entitled to their own facts. Everybody has a same shared set of facts. And if we can get back to that principle of objectivity, of credibility, and telling the truth, then yes, you should tell the stories that people need to hear, but tell them in a way that will withstand the test of time. That's what we need more of right now in 2021.
Sir, thank you. Thank you both. Thank you.
Congratulations, Brett.
Yeah, great question, Brett. So if you want to click leave, we actually have time. We have about 2 minutes. So I'm going to bring up one more scholar because I really do think it's important for them to get a chance to interact with the folks on this panel. So I'm going to bring up Banan.
Hello.
Go Tigers!
Hi. Yeah. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you again. So my question was, for the general panelists, or for it's open to anyone. What keeps you going? So you all panelists are very much accomplished people, and I wonder what keeps you all going on a day-to-day basis. Just every day, is it something that you say, something that you do, like a small act, or just what is that daily reminder that keep doing what you're doing and supporting?
Kick us off. Oh,
I'd be happy. I'll just behind some people. It's the people I work with. It's the people who are on my team. So when I was at GE, what really kept me motivated was knowing that I was there with the women and men who worked with me, and just being part of that shared endeavor was the privilege of my lifetime. And so I always measure by, am I doing right by my team? Am I doing everything I need to do for my team? And am I rewarding the faith that people who placed in me? And that's what kept me going, and that was my lodestar. And as long as I felt like I was always doing right by my team, I knew everything was going to be okay because they were incredible people. And I was fortunate to work with them. And I hope all of you have the privilege of working with the same quality and caliber of people that I have throughout my career, because it has been one great ride.
Banan, it's nice to meet you. I'll say really quickly, I agree with everything Alex said. If you like learning, I always looked for positions or jobs where I felt like I was going to learn every day. And that, of course, GE, we were in 180 countries. We were 9 or 10 businesses. We were involved in every public policy. And every day I went to work, I knew I was going to learn something. And Alex's point, I didn't want to let my colleagues down who are depending on me to do my share for the team. And so that motivates you. And then lastly, I'd build on Alex's point about passion, which is it's also important to find something that you're good at, right? And if you're good at something, you're going to really enjoy going to work every day, right? You're going to really enjoy helping out the team, helping out the people around you, your peers. And so passion is important, but I'd say make sure it's something you really, really feel like you're good at.
Hey, Cheryl, what would you like to add?
Yeah, I guess to give a younger, different perspective, what keeps me going, I think, kind of actually resonated with my application to the GE-Reagan Foundation 4 years ago, is just to be a conscientious citizen. And I guess that ties to, building connections with people and really learning about them is, I guess, everything that I strive to do, whether it be small or big in school or outside of school, is really how can I grow as a person and then bring those lessons into my community. So whether it be the classes I'm taking, the organizations I'm involved in, or even just the books that I read, how can I apply that to my day-to-day life?
Super, thanks. I'll just add a couple things and I'll throw it back to you, Tony. I'm going to repeat one thing, and it's the people. The people in this company within GE, big time. I will also say in my 32-year career at GE, I've been challenged. I would have 10 and a half years ago, if someone would have asked me that I would have been in corporate HR, I would have told them they were crazy. But it's one of the best decisions I've made in my career. And that's what I would encourage you to do, is just stretch and reach and do things you don't even think you might not be able to do. And then I look at what this company does, whether it's our GE Aviation division, GE Healthcare, GE Power, or GE Renewable Energy, and the impact that these business units are having on the world and on people. Those three things get me up every day. And lastly, in my role today, I'm energized by you scholars. Just like what Gary and Alex said and the rest of the committee, when we're evaluating these applications, I'm just blown away. And it just gives me so much energy and faith in the future of the world. That's something that Alex kind of got me onto, I don't know, when we first met, and he brought that up, and he's really right. So you scholars get me energized.
Excellent. Well, thank you all. What a great session. We went a couple minutes over, but it's worth it, I think, to hear from all of you, and some great questions from our scholars. Not surprising, since they're the best and brightest around. But I want to do one more thank you for our panelists for this session: Tony, Cheryl, Alex, Gary. Thank you so much for moderating, for sharing your stories, for giving back to these scholars. A couple of quick housekeeping remarks before we move into the next session. So we have scheduled a brain break. I don't know if I think I might have miscommunicated the first time around. This is an actual session you go into. There's some fun and games planned for you, so please feel free to head over to the brain break session once this wraps up. If you did bio break, certainly take it. We are not holding you hostage. That will be followed by session 4, where we'll have another great GE-Reagan alum coming back to share some fantastic work. Remember, you'll be off camera for that one, but you can pop up like you have the last couple of sessions to ask a question. And with that, one final thank you to our tremendous partners at GE, to Cheryl for coming back, and thank you all. What a great session.
Good luck, everyone.
Congratulations, everyone.
Take care.